You know, as a small person with small hands, what makes me so happy is the fact that in 2026, almost every major smartphone brand has finally launched a compact flagship phone. Previously, we only had Apple and Samsung, but look at the options right now. It is so satisfying to see. And today, I will be comparing the best 4 compact flagship phones that you can get for around 80 to 90,000 rupees or under $1,000. The iPhone 17, the Galaxy S26, the Xiaomi 17 and the Vivo X300. I have excluded the Pixel 10 from this comparison because, well, everyone knows how bad Tensor chipsets are. So with that out of the way, let the battle of the compact flagships begin. Okay, so I want to start with the designs, and as someone with tiny hands, I can't tell you how happy it makes me to see such incredibly well-built compact phones. Honestly, I had a really hard time judging them. All of these 4 phones are super compact, they fit so well in the hands and have great build quality. However, there are some differences, like the Galaxy S26 and the iPhone feature more proven and tested glass protection than the Vivo X300 and the Xiaomi 17. Especially the iPhone 17, which uses Apple's new ceramic Shield 2 glass. And from my own 6 months of usage, I don't have any major scratches on it, which is honestly quite impressive. But at the same time, the Xiaomi 17 and the Vivo X300 feature slightly superior IP69 and 69K dust and water resistance, while the iPhone and Samsung only have the same old IP68. So when it comes to durability, you could say that every one of these have their ifs and buts, so things are pretty balanced out. But I am someone who values hands-on feel more than anything else on a compact phone, and the most handy one here is the Galaxy S26. Yes, Samsung does not have as big battery as the Xiaomi 17 or the Vivo X300. In fact, Xiaomi and Vivo have almost 30% larger batteries, but that is also why the Galaxy S26 feels so different in the hand. It is incredibly thin, really lightweight, and just easier to use for longer periods. So if we are judging purely by comfort, the Galaxy S26 wins this round for me. Next, I will have to nitpick regarding the displays as well, because the screens on all of these smartphones are just so good. All of these 4 phones have excellent LTPO screens with smooth 120Hz refresh rate. Yes, even the base iPhone 17 has 120Hz refresh rate now, and the brightness levels are sufficient in all of them indoors. Although in outdoor situations or while playing HDR videos, the Vivo X300 is slightly brighter than the others. Similarly, Xiaomi has a 12-bit panel while Vivo has a 10-bit panel, so technically they should be able to display a wider range of colors, but in real-world usage, color reproduction is actually excellent on all of the 4 phones. I could barely tell a difference even on the Galaxy S26 and the iPhone 17, which only feature 8-bit panels. However, there are 3 things that deserve a special mention here. Number 1, both the Vivo X300 and the Xiaomi 17 support high PWM dimming, whereas Samsung and iPhone are still stuck with low PWM dimming. Number 2, since Samsung is the only one that does not support Dolby Vision, some Dolby Vision mastered content looks a bit dull on the S26. And number 3, the touch response on the Vivo X300 and the Xiaomi 17 feel a bit faster than the Galaxy S26 and the iPhone 17, especially when you're scrolling quickly or gaming. And I have to let you know that the vibration feedback on all of these devices is just great. I practically have 0 complaints, although while ringing, the iPhone 17 has a bit more impact, ever so slightly. And even when it comes to speakers, the iPhone sounds the loudest with better audio depth than the others. The Vivo X300 is a close second in terms of loudness though. In fact, if I have to rank all of them in terms of their speaker output, it would be number 1, iPhone 17, second Vivo, third S26, and then the Xiaomi 17. So overall, for the display experience, I would actually call this round a tie. Alright, let's talk about the cameras now, starting with the videography side, and I think everyone will agree when I say that the iPhone 17 takes majority of the points here. First, you get the new square selfie camera on the iPhone 17, just like the iPhone 17 Pro, so you can shoot both vertical and horizontal videos without physically changing the phone's orientation, which has been so useful for me personally. Even from the rear cameras, especially when shooting people, the iPhone's footage generally looks crisper, more stable, and more natural. The skin tones are usually reliable, the exposure transition is smooth, and overall it still feels like the easiest phone to trust for videos. Although I have to mention, the dynamic range is sometimes better on Vivo. Likewise, switching from one lens to another is smoother on the iPhone 17 than on the rest. Now, while I prefer the iPhone 17 for shooting videos, photography-wise, it is my last option. Because just look at the colors the Vivo X300 and the Galaxy S26 produce. It is so pleasing and both have better dynamic range too. And if you prefer even more punchy and contrasty photos, then Xiaomi gives you exactly that kind of output. The iPhone, on the other hand, keeps things a little too flat for my taste. Detail-wise, Samsung is the weakest here, and honestly this is not too surprising because Samsung has not really updated the camera sensors for around 4 years now. Xiaomi and Vivo, on the other hand, are the only ones using newer sensors this time, and as a result both phones are able to capture really good details. But if I have to pick one, the Vivo X300 clearly has the edge thanks to its 200 megapixel sensor. The details are sharper, the textures are cleaner, and when you zoom into the photos, Vivo simply holds up better than the rest. Okay, when it comes to the ultra-wide photos, the Galaxy S26 again has the softest output. The colors are nice, but the details, none. The Xiaomi 17 and the Vivo X300, on the other hand, capture sharper looking ultra-wide photos, but their field of view is just not wide enough, so they don't really give you that dramatic ultra-wide perspective. And then there is the iPhone 17. It has the widest ultra-wide camera here, but it messes up the dynamic range sometimes, especially in tricky lighting. So yeah, ultra-wide photos are kind of a hit or a miss on all of these four phones. Talking about portraits, I personally like the slightly airbrushed look from Vivo. Actually, the Galaxy S26 also clicks good portraits color-wise, but they are very soft and lack details. So if you zoom in slightly, the pictures turn out quite soft. Xiaomi, on the other hand, does better with details. Portraits look sharper and textures are preserved better, but sometimes the shadows look too harsh and that affects the overall mood of the portrait. And the iPhone 17, it does not even have a telephoto lens, so you are basically cropping in the main camera for portraits. And honestly, I am not a big fan of iPhone's slightly yellowish skin tone in portrait shots too. So for portraits, my pick is the Vivo X300. But Xiaomi does deserve a special shout out with the Leica black and white portraits. They are just so good. Likewise, the telephoto lenses on the Xiaomi 17 and the Vivo X300 click nice macro shots, a lot better than the ultra-wide macros from the iPhone 17. Sadly, the S26 cannot click macro photos at all, and if you're someone who uses zoom a lot, it's again the Vivo X300 that produces the best zoom pictures at 10x and 20x. Above that, none of these phones are able to keep up actually. When it comes to nighttime photos, Xiaomi takes the lead for me. Somehow, the Xiaomi 17 manages highlights, exposure, and details better than all of the other three. Vivo and iPhone are a close second, but Samsung, it's the worst at night. The grain and the noise is clearly visible and the photos just don't look as clean as the others. From the front camera, I like Vivo and Samsung's color processing the best. Samsung does not capture as much detail as Vivo, but the skin tone is really well optimized here. Xiaomi's selfies, on the other hand, still need a lot of refinement, especially when it comes to shadow processing, while iPhone selfies, despite being the widest, are quite flat most of the time. So overall, you could say that the Vivo X300 is kind of like the jack of all when it comes to photography, but when it comes to videography, I would still choose the iPhone 17. Alright, next, battery, and just like 2 years back, battery life was a major setback for people who wanted to buy a compact phone, but now, thanks to the rise of silicon carbon batteries on Chinese phones, even compact phones come with great battery life. I use the global variant of the Xiaomi 17 that comes with a 6330 mAh battery, and in my normal regular use, it gave me around 8.5 hours of screen on time. 8.5 hours from a compact phone is just crazy. Vivo gave me the second best endurance. The iPhone 17 and the Galaxy S26 are at the bottom of the table because they use smaller lithium-ion batteries, and sadly, not only does the S26 have the worst battery endurance, but it also charges the slowest. In fact, with Xiaomi and Vivo, you get a couple of other charging benefits too. Like in my region, you get the respective 100 watt and 90 watt chargers inside the box, whereas you have to buy a separate charger for Samsung and iPhone. And both these Chinese phones support PD and PPS charging, where Xiaomi allows up to 100-watt charging support with third-party chargers. Vivo limits charging with third-party chargers to 55 watts only. Finally, let's talk about the performance, and just like the camera, battery and charging, Samsung fanboys are going to be disappointed here too. Honestly, when Samsung announced that their Exynos chipset would feature a 2nm architecture, I was super excited to test the performance, but when I did test it, it was quite underwhelming. Let me start by showing the benchmarks first. If you look at 3D Mark's Wildlife Extreme Stress Test results, you will notice that the S26 has the worst stability and efficiency. In fact, in every other benchmark, Samsung is kind of at the bottom of the food chain. Likewise, even my real-life gaming test showed how the Galaxy S26 struggles to keep up. Now, it is not a huge difference when you play games like PUBG for 10 to 15 minutes, but when you play for more than 30 minutes, the Galaxy S26's performance starts dropping. Also, the S26 heats up a little more than all the other phones while playing games. There isn't a night and day difference in temperatures, but the S26 throttles the performance a bit and the FPS starts dropping, especially the 5% lows. Now, if I have to rate the gaming performance in particular, it would be number 1 Xiaomi, because you get good average FPS and 5% lows as well as better thermals. Number 2 would be iPhone 17, number 3 would be the Vivo X300, and finally the S26. Now, I know I have been dissing the Galaxy S26 a lot throughout this comparison, but one thing that Samsung does the best is user experience. When it comes to the UI, the software, Samsung for me is definitely at the top. First of all, it offers the most handy one-handed user experience ever on a smartphone. Everything on One UI is easily reachable with one hand, like searching for apps, settings, or interacting with the control center. Everything is just one swipe away. Not that things on Vivo, Xiaomi, and iPhone are difficult to reach, but Samsung's UI just feels so natural to use. Plus, among the other two Android phones, Samsung provides the most number of updates, so that's a plus too. Also, it is fair to say that Samsung has the most stable, bug-free software experience among all the compact phones, especially the iOS 26 on the iPhone 17 is not polished yet. Time and again, there are bugs like the screen freezes and there are battery drain issues too. Vivo's Origin OS and Xiaomi's Hyper OS have improved a lot though, but it is still not quite as optimized as Samsung. With both the X300 and the Xiaomi 17, I have noticed like random sluggishness in the UI, which you will not notice on the Galaxy S26. Alright, now before getting to the conclusion bit, I want to talk about their resale value as well, and I don't think it's a surprise that the iPhone gets the highest marks here. If you check Cashify or any other second-hand website, you will find every year's iPhone selling at a higher cost than other Android phones. So yeah, after everything that I have said in this video, I can pretty much confirm that 2026 is the best time to buy a compact phone. All of the options that I talked about in this video are top choices. But if you want a specific recommendation from me, I would say get the Xiaomi 17 if you want the best gaming plus battery life on a compact phone. Get the Vivo X300 if you want the best photography experience, especially portraits. Get the iPhone 17 if you want a jack of all, and of course, if you are an Apple fanboy. And don't get the Galaxy S26 right now. It's better to go with last year's S25 that's available for around 20,000 less, or even the S24 that is practically available for almost half the price. You will get a very similar experience. So guys, which one would you go for among all of these 4 compact flagship phones? Please let me know in the comments below, and while you're there, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Saying this, I'm Pratima Adhikari, and thank you so much for watching. Done.